everybody. This is Jahna Davis. She is the owner and founder of Bow Chic, and I'm Anita from Alpine Archery. We like to have different people come in, and Jahna is joining us for the whole weekend. She's going to give a seminar tonight and help us with an archery clinic, and we're going to learn a lot. And we're just going to talk about different things throughout and see where we go. So, Jahna, tell me a little bit about how you got started in archery. I know it was really young.
Yeah. So my dad was a bow hunter, and he actually got my brother and I started when we were really young. I started when I was 6 years old, and that was just shooting a little, just a little beginner bow, and then I really took to it from an extremely young age. And so then, back then we didn't have the equipment that we have now. So he bought me this little compound bow and spray painted it hot pink and white limbs, and we rolled with it. So I actually started competing when I was 8, and I won my first Montana state tournament at 8 years old. And then I went on from there, and I won my first national tournament at age 12. First international tournament at age 14. I made my first adult world championship team to travel to Austria when I was 17. And then I won my first world championship title at 19.
What about hunting? You said he was a hunter. So.
Yeah, so of course, that was the family that I was raised in. I started bow hunting as soon as I could at age 12. In Montana, you have to be 12 to... In fact, it was funny, I just found my hunters and bow hunters ed certifications since I was 11 when I took them, so I've been hunting since I was 12 years old.
And you have kids now and a family.
Mm-hmm. My daughter is 7 and my son is 5.
How does that play a part in your career right now? Because there's a lot going on.
It's extremely emotional for my kids. My daughter especially, she's just, as she's getting older, she's shooting now, and so she wants to be involved, and she doesn't always understand why she can't come with mommy, and so in a couple years she'll start traveling with me a little bit more, but right now it's a little bit, it's obviously difficult. You have to find a good balance, and so I am fortunate enough now that I've started Bow Chic. The last 2 years I went to every single tournament. I took Bow Chic with me everywhere I went, whether I made money or lost money. I knew that I had to get the brand out there and established, and so everywhere I went I took a booth. It was a ton of work, and I did it all on my own. Now I'm fortunate enough to have a very large bow hunting staff, amateur or non-professional staff, and a professional staff that represent Bow Chic at every tournament, regardless of whether I'm there or not. We have representation there. So that was my goal, to get it to a point where we have extremely competitive people who are very dependable, and then also a good bow hunting representation for the brand as well. So I don't always have to be at all the places.
So those 2 years where you were going out so much, what can you give people to help juggle that when they want to compete and they have kids, and any suggestions for them how to balance that?
You have to have a very strong foundation at home, a lot of support. If you don't have the support from your spouse or from people who are involved in your kids' lives, it's not going to work. That's just the way it is. So I refuse to put my job or my archery career ahead of my children. And so I have been extremely fortunate. My husband's been very good about taking over the role when I'm gone. And my parents are by far the biggest supporters that I have. Obviously they've been involved with this since I was little, and they want to see me succeed, and they also understand that my kids need support, and so they've helped pick up the pieces while I've been gone. Now, when you compete, you don't have to go to every single tournament. I mean, I was going to USA archery events, NFAA archery events, and all the ASAs. So, I mean, you're talking every other week. I was gone for 4 to 5 days for the first year. And that is not typical of, and I mean, if they can do it, that's wonderful, but that's not necessarily typical of a mother of young children. So that was something that I just had to do. I knew I had to make the commitment to it in order to launch the brand. And now I'm very picky with the tournaments that I go to.
So why did you launch the brand? What
Brand?
Yes. What inspired you to do the women's clothing line in Bow Chic?
So I am 34 years old and I have been shooting since I was 6. So I have been involved in the archery industry for almost 30 years. That's saying a lot. And so I had a huge support running in with this Bow Chic. Lancaster Archery Supply, Rob Koffel owns Lancaster Archery Supply. He was immediately on board with it. And you can imagine to have the backing of someone like that. He was a huge promoter in helping me and even getting me into the Lancaster booth so I didn't have to have my own booth so that I could compete and then go back and run the booth. I mean, it was just wonderful. So having support like that is huge. But the actual original reason I started Bow Chic was because I'm an avid bow hunter. And I can't even remember now, 7 or 8 different sets of camouflage. I had all the ones, every single line that women were made for women, and then I had a lot of lines that weren't, but were supposed to be, you know, sized down for kids. So I would be wearing kids' pants and men's small pants and a kid's jacket, and you know, I mean, just a hodgepodge of stuff. And so I came out one morning and I didn't know anything about layering. I was the typical woman that thinks that the more clothes you put on, the warmer you're gonna be. And I come out bow hunting morning and I'm just mad. I'm cranky, and my husband looks at me, he's like, what is wrong with you? It's opening morning, you should be happy. I'm like, I hate this camouflage, I'm uncomfortable, nothing fits. I just wish I could design my own. And that's pretty much where it started. So that kind of got got it in my head, the idea, and I ran with it. I have a marketing degree from Montana State University, and so marketing has never been an issue for me. It's always come quickly, and especially with something that I love to do. And so I knew that I had to develop the brand first. Brand recognition is the key to any successful business. And a clean brand. And that was extremely important to me because I have a little girl, and I don't want to be recognized as someone that, I want all of my gear something that you can shoot in, period. Conservative, long torsoed, everything is designed so that a woman can shoot in it comfortably. Let alone all of the actual technical gear that's involved in the camouflage. That's besides the point. But so I ran with the brand, and behind the scenes was working on the camouflage. Nobody even knew about it. So for 9 to 10 months I worked on the fit, just the fit, before I ever even picked the camouflage pattern. I worked on the brand, or excuse me, the fit. And so then we just happened to stumble across a company that we licensed with last year, and then it just exploded after that. So I blew out the camouflage. It was extremely well received. Companies like yourself picked it up, and I can honestly say that when Bow Chic came out, John, your husband, was probably one of my first clients to buy it for you. So that's saying a lot. And then this year, when you have a company that is growing at an extremely rapid rate, you have to make decisions that's going to better your company, and whether now is the time to do it, or do I wait 2 or 3 years and then do it? How is the public going to perceive it? and I've always been the kind of girl that dives in head first. So we worked on this new pattern, and it's called the Bow Chic Signature Series. And so we've discontinued the covert pattern from last year, and this is our own pattern. It's owned by Bow Chic, it's copyrighted by Bow Chic, and it is ours. And I think it is extremely versatile. It's beautiful. I mean, you look at it, it's attractive, and it blends in every environment that you're in.
Yeah, the photos that you took of the different, scenarios and different places and stuff, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to having it.
Yeah. I'm really excited to get it out there and get you in it and some of the other girls in it and get it in stores.
So the reason I really like it was because it's for a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And my passion is to see women out there more and to feel comfortable in it.
Mm-hmm.
In the sport, whether it's just regular archery or hunting. And that's kind of why we had you come in this weekend, was because that's my passion. I want to grow the women in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking earlier that you saw a need for it years ago when you were shooting for Martin.
Mm-hmm.
How have you seen that change, and how is it growing now compared to then?
So, I wish I had all of the statistics with me, but I mean, what we saw was a extremely rapid growth between 2010 and 2013. It started to taper off a little bit for the women, but you have to understand, you have to look back at it also. I mean, I noticed, and like you said, back in 2003, 2004, that where the market was going to be, it was going to be in women and children. And I knew that in the beginning. And so I would try to encourage people with their advertising efforts, like, you need to appeal to these women. This is where your growth is going to be. You need to get on board with this. Well then, as camo became cool and hunting became cool and we have a lot to thank for that. We have the Hunger Games to thank for that. We have Brave to thank for that. I mean, it has brought women in light of, hey, shooting a bow is actually really cool. I mean, I thought shooting a bow was cool before it was actually cool, but now it really is perceived as something that's cool, and the word huntress is thrown around like, and being someone who is an active competitor and an active huntress, sometimes people can take offense to that, but the way I look at it is, you've got women, regardless of whether they hunt on the weekends or they hunt with a rifle or they hunt with a bow or they are out there putting on 200 to 300 miles in the mountains during a bow hunting season. We are all on the same team, and so we all are working together, and so you can't deny anybody from what they choose to do, just as long as we're all doing it. So I love what you're doing and promoting the women in the industry, and that's one of the main reasons I did this. I love bringing kids up in it.
It's so fun to see the kids when they get a bow, and it doesn't matter what age, and if they've been shooting and you help them a little bit and they're getting that X and they're like, yes! Yeah.
Here's an example. So last year was the first year I had the Bow Chic team. And the way I do it is I do it all on social media. That way I can go in and see what kind of people are applying, because I have to be not only do I read it on an application, but I need to see how the image is projected throughout, because our image is extremely, like I said, it's clean. So everything's on social media, and then they have to request an application from me, and then I email them the application, and then they fill it out, cover letter, bio, whatever, photos, and then they send it back to me. And then I go through them, I sort through the list, and then I hand it to my business partner, who actually has no connection with the archery industry. She doesn't bow hunt. She's one of my best friends, and she believed in the business. And what that does is it keeps the emotions of mine out of the picking of the team. So then she makes the final choices, and then there's your team. And last year, I had about 250 email requests for applications, and I had 40 apply. This year, I had almost 2,000 emails and over 600 women apply in 1 year. And there's not that many spaces, so I was going through these applications in tears. I was crying, going, "Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to sort through these." That's why I had to go through some, and then I had to stop, and I had to go through some, and then I had to stop. I mean, it was so overwhelming. But the majority of those women who applied have only been shooting for, and I'm not saying the majority, let me rephrase that. There was probably about 60% of the women that applied that had only been shooting for 18 months to 3 years. 18 months to 3 years. That's huge. I mean, when you're talking that many numbers.
We see new women coming in all the time. Well, I've thought about it. And it helps me being in the store because there's that different, they don't feel intimidated so much. And it's somebody that's gone through it, they can talk to. It makes a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
Well, thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome.
Today. We are blessed to have you with us this weekend.
I'm blessed to be here. I'm excited for this. It's going to be a great weekend.
Thank you.